Hi, my name is Wooby Woo. I mean Russell. I need your help.
And you were too shy to ask?
My people are in trouble. I'm a mud scamp. I'm just too shy to ask earlier. I'm sorry. I've kind of been sitting here for a little while, and I just had to work up the nerve. I hope that's okay. I'm a mud scamp.
This is the Never Ending Adventure podcast, where Russell just killed the adventure. It ended. We said it was never ending, and now it's ended.
I'm a mud scamp. Did you know that? I'm just going to keep saying that.
In the real world, it's called a mud skipper fish or like a mud sucker fish? There is a fish that like climbs out of water.
No.
That's like a...
Well, yeah, and like lives out of water, but there ain't no fish, man, that has legs and wears hats. Come on. What are you talking about?
Not that has legs and wears hats, but yeah, guys, we're talking about the hard easy. I keep wanting to call it the big easy, but
the big easy. What is that from? What?
I think I can't remember the big easy. Is that from Big Lebowski or something like that? Oh no, there's a movie called The Big Easy from the 80s. That's what it is.
Okay. Yeah. Well, welcome everybody. It's been a little bit since me and Ed talked. He's been a little sicky poo.
Yeah,
but it sounds like you're feeling better now.
I got that cold. Yeah, it's better. It's up in my nose and sinuses, and I've had that like heavy eye fever all day. So we're getting there, man. But it's kind of a good. I'm glad I'm not sick for getting into the end of the show or the end of the season. Excuse me, is when things start getting pretty heated after this.
Dude, next episode, bro. I'm pretty sure I saw Fortress Princess. This Fortress Princess sounds like a Yu-Gi-Oh card.
Princess.
I summoned the Fortress Princess in attack mode. Oh my gosh. Yugi.
Oh my stars.
What it do, Yugi?
What it do, Yugi? But this is this is kind of I'd say a very odd placement of this episode in the series of events we've been going through. It's very similar, in my opinion, to just like the odd placement of who would win, which is like a couple episodes ago. But it's just it's not that season one mentality. The who would win had like big season one vibes, and this one is kind of still that whole like we're just on an adventure, we're just found a swimming hole, we're just hanging out, and then we don't mind helping these little fish people get rid of a frog. Just a little side adventure episode. But I feel like this one had a lot more Finn and Jake back and forth dynamic. A little bit less spazzy as like a season one episode would be. You know what I mean?
Can I ask you what are your overarching feelings about this episode? Do you watch this one? Is this one you skip whenever you're watching that through the show?
Yeah, it's typically one if I'll skip it or I will keep it on in the background and be like, oh, this is what I'll go up and like take my poops while this one's like playing something like, dude. You know?
This is your get up and move episode.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of started it and just like, again, got the title card up and I was like, I remembered it after like rewatching it again, but I was like, I don't even think about this episode. It doesn't have a memorable title name. Nothing super memorable happens. We don't have even, what do you call him? Big fluffy prince or whatever. He doesn't make a return again. So we don't have any new canon.
He's gone?
Yeah, I think he's just gone.
He's like our first Prince character, other than Prince Gumball. That was
which he's pretend.
Yeah, he's not really our first Prince character. Our first Prince character just up and leaves us.
Yeah, well, and I don't know, man. It's a matter of he's a prince, but obviously I don't think he's a prince over anything. But when the crown like grows out of his head, it's kind of like, oh, he's not a prince of a kingdom. He's just a biological prince or whatever the race of princes is. Or
really what he's doing,
prince is.
He's just doing a Sailor Moon transformation, right? That's kind of what happens there. So I would say he is definitely a prince of some sort. But for whatever reason, they decided to give him a Sailor Moon transformation where kind of weird. Like he definitely just goes all the bone and then, of course, rebuilds on top of himself. The whole episode is a little off-putting for me, if I'm just being entirely honest with you.
Yeah, the lanky frog legs, like even the design of the frog is kind of weird. You don't get anything that's we don't get any like blue light or sun in this episode at all, which I think is potentially the first. Even our dungeon episodes, we are at least outside a little bit in those episodes, so that's kind of off-putting a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, okay, so this is Prince Huge is his name, and he is voiced by Brian Doyle Murray. Brian Doyle Murray, the Flying Dutchman. That's the oh my gosh,
Yeah,
that's what
I was like,
it is.
I knew I recognized the voice.
He's the Flying Dutchman in SpongeBob. I freaking knew it. I knew it.
I don't even know if he makes an Adventure Time return at all, but
I don't think so. I just glanced on the.
I guess Tom Kenny gave
like
him Tom Kenny gave him a ring and said, "Hey, can you fill in for me? I was supposed to voice Prince Huge, and I'm sick today. Can the Flying Dutchman do it?"
Totally. Well, I know a humanoid and or maybe a fish girl character that I think should meet Prince Huge. I think they'd be a great fit.
Fish girl character? What are you talking about?
Yeah, what's her face? Oh gosh, Susan Strong.
I guess I could see that.
We should set them up on a date. You think we could set them up on a date?
That's a good thought. Setting the two of them up.
I don't know. I'm just out here shipping things, like doing a podcast about a cartoon.
I still want to know what he did to get the frog curse on him, right? Because the only other being that we've seen with a frog curse was the Gnome Knights. Remember the Gnome Knights they were like, I'm not a frog knight. I'm a gnome knight that got turned into a frog.
Yes.
So apparently it's probably similar. Somebody could have kissed that little gnome knight and he probably would have turned back into just a normal gnome. Yeah, well, I think if it's a similar frog curse, then it would have to be the same.
I do love that the curse is only broken by someone kissing you versus what he tries to do, which is he's going out and he's trying to kiss all these critters. And he's like, man, I tried to kiss everything in every sort of a way. And it didn't work. And then just so chill about like him kissing Prince Huge, just like, whatever. Yeah, man, like it's cool. And props on Finn for just his vibes this episode.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's a good way to end Pride Month, I guess, with a good little kissing princes isn't that big a deal. Whatever.
No, I mean, come on, who hasn't kissed their bros? You know what I'm saying? Who
doesn't kiss their bros? And is that the reason that it's called the hard easy? Like it was something that in theory is or conceptually could be hard to do, but it's really easy. I didn't know why it's called the hard easy.
I don't know, man. I mean, I'm just not gonna think about it. The hard easy.
I'm just not going to think about it.
Well,
I got some deeper thoughts on that later, but not bad thoughts, just deeper thoughts on kind of what you mentioned.
I mean, I'm not the factoid guy on this podcast, but certainly I was interested just in the fact that this was the 100th produced episode of Adventure Time.
Not released, but produced.
Yeah, 101. I thought that was a neat little factoid. And I got to say, as far as my vibes of this episode, very No One Can Hear You, Season 3, Episode 15, The Deer. Like, this is on a similar level of creepy, awkward. I don't really like it. The frog freaks me out the whole time. His teeth, the way he just screams, how he's bigger than the trees one moment, and the next moment his eyes are going in the back of his head and he's sneaking into a cave.
Yeah.
There's a lot about this episode that I'm just like, oh gosh, man, I don't need all this. What's going on? It's just it's not really an episode for me necessarily. But because of that, I do think this is going to end up being a fun conversation just because it tends to be those episodes where we're just like not planning on really loving it, where we're just like, dude.
Well, it's really nice as we just kind of dissect something that may not need to be dissected, frog pun intended here, that we end up being like, oh, actually, it took both of us sitting down and like putting our thoughts together to be like, actually, there was more to unpack here than we expected in the general. But
just two mud scamps, man. Just me and you, just two mud scamps.
Just two mud scamps. Hey, about the mud scamps, though, first of all, my tops comes in the episode from the elder mud scamp when he's talking about the frog. It's also it's South Wooby Woo, which is just his name. He just calls it South Wooby Woo.
He goes, they don't have a name for their village? What is this, dude? This is where they live. They're just nomadic, I guess.
Hey, they're just hanging out. Yeah, like they have little dirt mounds that they seem pretty comfortable on, and
they're always on the run. I don't know, man.
I don't know. Well, They obviously they're I don't think they're on the run that much because
they're off the grid, bro.
They're just like, off the grid. Hey, I don't want to move into the city, so they're kind of settled out there to some degree. But the tops comes when he's just describing the frog and says he's 100 stories of 110% 10-speed terror, like bam, like fresh out the grease.
Yeah, the best line of the episode, without a doubt. But I can't get over the fact that they're just like off the grid, so they don't have to get jobs, and they don't even have a name for their village, and they're these weird goldfish thing with feet, like the snap that smiles back, like that's what they does are.
Look like goldfish,
very much. It's fun. It's goofy. The village elder, that whole scene is my tops. I hate, man. Wooby Woo's my lovely. I think that's obvious.
He's my lovely too. Easy one for this episode.
But I hate that they have these freaking stink oil glands or whatever they say, where they just spray stink oil the entire day, all day long.
The entire day, all day long.
Or what's he say? Awful sauce glands is what he calls them.
Awful sauce
Dude,
glands.
That blows. That makes me not like. It almost makes me not want Wooby Woo to be my lovely. But he never like inks out the oil, so I'm okay with him.
He's got himself under control. Maybe that's why he was shy in the first place to try to talk to them. But I don't know, because he stank.
They did say, what was it? Jake says that the swamp smells like green beans.
Like green beans. No, that's Finn. Finn is like, let's get out of here, man. This place smells like green beans.
Yeah, so maybe that's why.
So maybe that
the stink oil is
the stink oil or
scented.
Yeah, green bean scent that'd be not. Asparagus would be worse. Like when after you pee after eating asparagus, it's just like the worst smell in the world. I could see that being that smell. Honestly,
I will say though, there is a part of me that does love the rainy vibes in like a lake town, or like
when they're just sitting on the edge.
Yeah, and it just reminds me. I mean, I definitely have plenty of memories of like going swimming at the lake, and then it starts to rain a little bit, but it's like who cares? You're in the water, and as long as it's not thundering and lightning, like it's chill. And Jake and Finn at the beginning of this episode are just hanging out at the lake. They don't really love it. To be entirely honest with you, it kind of reminds me of Dagobah anyways. So why would you want to be in like a swampy, gross watering hole? I don't know. But I do love the idea of an episode where it's just raining the whole episode, and it's not like raining knives or something. It's just straight up rain and chill vibes, and that's a good feeling. I like that. So this episode had that going forward.
Okay. So what I said at the beginning about it being rainy vibes was not necessarily what gave you that bad feel mentality. It's mostly the frog animation.
It's mostly the frog that really gave me that, gosh, this blows, dude. Because he's so big, so creepy. Yeah, I just don't like him. The mega frog.
No, I got you. Well, I think my favorite part of the episode, I think, is they get the lollies, they do Hansel and Gretel. My favorite part, though, is they get lost. Jake goes up above the trees again, eliminating. I don't have no Jake mistake this episode. He tried his best to look over the trees and I was like, that's fantastic. That's a really cool way of doing it. But then they're like, okay, let's wait it out and make a fire. And the fire scene has to be like just the best part of the episode is that we have two adventurers. He's got a backpack that's always got a bunch of goodies in there. We have seen them always they have candles in their treehouse all the time. We saw Finn light an arrow on fire with his hands.
Is that in a New Frontier?
That's the New Frontier when he shoots the flaming arrow into Banana Man's spaceship house thing, and he lights the arrow with his hands, and it's kind of like, okay, so how?
Yeah, he knows.
One, they're like, where does fire come from? So maybe they just were trying to like rough and tough it a little bit and do something different. But
I love that he kind of uses, is it called sympathetic magic? I'm trying to remember what it's called, but where
I think it was sympathetic or empathetic magic.
I think it's sympathetic. So he like kisses it. It's like two similar things or whatever. And he writes fire in the mud as if like trying to connect like his kiss, his feelings of fire to create fire or whatever. There were some moments that were cool, but lots of foreshadowing of kissing, of course. I mean, the I'm shy sort of is, I guess, kind of what a lot of people say when it comes to their first kiss. The village elder saying, what is it? Chases us all up and down from first base to home.
First base to home. I thought it was funny because it was like at the beginning of the episode, you'd think, oh, that's just an adult joke. That's not what they meant, but they snuck it in there for adults. But then at the end, it's like Finn is like, oh, first base, like kissing somebody. So does that mean like when he's like gets us all up from first base to home, makes me a little nervous about what this frog's doing to
home is 4,
fish.
right? Home is 4, and tier 15 is not home. So
okay, so it's fourth base, not 15th base.
I think we're good. But
okay, that makes better sense in Adventure Time land.
Yeah, the Finn, that part with the lighting the fire is kind of a goofy moment where I totally agree with what you're saying, man. Like they try every which way and are so close constantly to be able to light fire. I mean, the process is down. That the steps just aren't in order, or they aren't completed. Like there's not a complete memory loop of theirs where they're like connecting the dots necessarily, but they're getting so dang close. And then Jake freaking stabs himself. If there's a Jake mistake for me, it's that he is just getting beaten up this episode. Like he's kind of being abused by the episode, but he's kind of abusing himself. Like there's a moment
when he beats up the Wicker Man frog statue thing, and and the thing like falls on top of him.
It doesn't even hit
almost
him,
getting
dude.
knocked out. Yeah.
No, it lands in front of him, and then he kind of like falls to the ground. And then in the next scene, he has a black eye. I'm like, you didn't get hit by that stick. Why do you have a black eye all of a sudden,
Yeah, he seems more fragile this episode. At least for him getting he did take a lightning bolt to the face, but twice.
For what it's worth.
For what it's worth. But yeah, it does seem odd that he's just kind of like and I don't know, he does get not if the frog was truly evil and was gonna like eat him, like he kind of got big and then did nothing. He kind of like wrestled the frog a little bit and then lost. And the frog was trying to kiss him. So if that frog had actually been evil, like Jake would have been significantly more hurt at that point.
Well, how does he describe that, right? He's trying to kiss him, or he's trying to eat me. What is it? Gently eating him.
Gently eating me with no teeth.
Yeah. Just mostly tongue. That I guess I get it. At that point, you're like, okay, what is up with this frog? And the way he's trying to eat people, and then all of these like foreshadowing of a kiss being this resolution of this for Finn.
And when it makes me think too, like obviously he was just trying to kiss the wooby woos of the world too, because I think the elder says like, can you imagine what it would be like to be eaten? And so like, it's like, okay, I think that the frog monster has never actually eaten one of them, but he throws them down, and I bet they think
it's
that
just
they
the
escape,
fear of it. Yeah, it's just the fear of what could happen. And you actually did a funny. I'm not going to put you on the spot, but before we started this, Ned was doing an impression of the like, mommy, and the
he's like, son, what are you doing in there? And he's like, mommy, I can't believe our voices sound the same. No, I love that because I had funny. my deep, not my deep thought, but my thought about, again, just kind of that whole little segment in the show is it sounded like the voice actor was trying to do the lines for whatever was written down, but he was trying to change his voice up and it sounded too similar, but you kind of hear him chuckle to himself and he kind of is like, my voices sound the same. And it feels like the first nature. Yeah, it feels like the first, honestly, like improv-y thing that's been left in the show. Like
for quite a while. I agree. It's been a while since we've had something that felt that good. And there was another line that I thought was kind of odd later in the episode where, and I'm going to try not to butcher this, but basically what Jake is saying, the thing with the frogs is that they have a real subtle smell. It's kind of like when you open a new thing of CDRs, and Finn says, like electric celery. Jake says, yeah, but more subtler, which makes no sense to me. It's so odd. It's so just out of left field. Like, how does CDR sound or smell like electric celery? I don't understand what the pun is there.
Yeah, I tried.
I like the randomness of it all. It feels fun.
I tried to figure it out. It was more like, I think Jake's stating like opening new CDRs. Like, have you ever smelt that smell like when you were young and would like burn CDs?
What? Oh,
no,
yes,
they have a very
specific,
like burning CDs. Like you'd open up a new thing, it kind of smells like the inside of a Staples almost. Or an Office Depot, whatever. I'm trying to remember which one's closed and which one's still open.
Yeah. Well, what is the smell to you that sticks out the most from your like childhood that would be just the most obvious? Like you could be anywhere in the world, smell that thing and go, "Oh, I know." Like I just thought of tennis balls. Like when you open a
I said tennis balls, new tires, like going into like a Firestone store.
I don't like the new tire smell.
Oh, I love the new tire smell. I don't know why, that like the rubber smell. And then going into man, there was this shoe store. What was it? It wasn't like a shoe carnival. It was this big kind of local. I think it was a semi big one that went out of business, but a big shoe store, and it had that distinct like new shoe smell.
Yeah,
I think it was called like not shoe department. No, I'm almost there, but this one specific one in Augusta had like a basketball court inside of it.
Oh wow!
So it kind of smelled like basketball court mixed with new shoes, and it was just like the perfect like new shoe smell. So yeah, I don't know. Like, you said tennis balls. Anything else?
Yeah, well, some people love the smell of gasoline, like at a gas station, and that just doesn't do it for me. I don't know. I don't
hate it, but it's not like a can of tennis balls where you like sit there and be like,
Is that what you do? I certainly don't do that.
I mean, I think I've opened up three cans of tennis balls in my life.
Ned's over here motorboating tennis balls. Like, oh my gosh, dude.
But yeah, that one, I'd say that line that you're talking about with the electric celery does not. It's on there with funny lines in this episode, but the last one I will mention. Then we'll go take a break real quick, too. Is when he says that frog's about to dingle our bones into tapioca pudding. But then Jake goes, "Hey, man, you need to watch your language." Like, basically, of all things that have been said in this episode, that's the one that's the worst, is dingle our bones into tapioca pudding.
If I'm being entirely honest, though, I feel a little bit like this episode, they were reaching a little bit. Those don't feel so natural to me. Sometimes in Adventure Time, the goofy lines, the like mathematical whatever things.
Oh, like schmamacow.
Schmamacow. It just feels so natural. It feels so like, oh, that's just how the show is. And it just fits in perfectly with the pacing. And this episode, for me, it felt a little bit awkward. Every one of those weird lines, other than, well, even the 100 stories, that line felt a little bit like forced, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that was a forced line. It was just, it blended because the way he inflected that line at least made it flow really well. But
I'm sure it'll flow real naturally when I do it in the commercial in a minute here. So
yeah, but I think you are right. There is a little bit of, we had a concept of it, and then they kind of like, they were like, oh shoot, we have to do all these like kind of like Jake rubbing the dirt in his eye, all this like kind of like little filler stuff.
And I'm sure people love this episode. I have no doubt that this is someone's favorite episode. I don't think it's a bad episode. There were just moments where I kind of felt a little like, oh, that just didn't kind of work as easily as it probably would in another episode.
Exactly. I know what you mean. Well, let's take a breather, because I got one deep concept that I hope will kind of open a can of worms and make you think a little bit through the show. So
all right, let's do it. 100 stories of 110%, 10-speed terror, like bam, like fresh out the grease. Megafrog is haunting and stomping. Like imagine if you got by the frog. Think about it. Like in his tum-tum. Oh no, help, I'm in a frog tum. He thought I was yum yum and I'm totally not whoopie woo. Son, is that you? Oh, I'm getting eaten, and yet I'm still secreting my stink oil. Some crazy stuff. And really, we just don't want to go back to our 9-to-5s. Life in South Wooby Woo has got us real spoiled.
And we're back, baby. Back at it.
We're back. I'm no longer a mud scamp. I'm a human now. My name's Russell, by the way.
My name's Ned. Actually, I don't even know if I introduced myself this episode or not. I am Ned. That's my name.
He is Ned. You've seen the show before. I've never seen the show before. Welcome to halfway through this episode. I'm sure you all know this by now. But yeah, let's get back to it, Ned.
Yeah, we kind of left just talking about them doing the fire, and then they're walking away, and they're talking about CDRs, all that stuff. Well, they get to the field, and they see what they think is the frog sitting there in the field. I thought this whole scene was funny, just in a concept of have you seen the Wicker Man?
I have not seen the Wicker Man. No.
Like so conceptually speaking, like same with Burning Man, but like in the Wicker Man, they would build a big Wicker Man and burn it to bring in the next harvest, right? And I think a lot of farm societies, cultures have that kind of ritual of like the beginning of harvest season, we burn the harvest man. So I think
you're
it's
talking
funny.
about the 1973 British folk horror film, directed by
yes,
Robin
but
Hardy.
more the Nick Cage Wicker Man. That's the remake of it. That one's way better. Trust me.
Yeah, as of right now, as of my my Google search, my Wikipedia reading, I'm more familiar with the original. But I mean, that's just me.
That's just you, dude. Go watch the Nick Cage one. It is one of cinema's greatest hits in terms of.
Does he light on fire in that movie?
I think. Well, there's they had two different endings, pretty much. One was I think a theatrical, like in the theaters, and then they changed it for the DVD release. So there's two endings to that movie, technically.
Dude, there's like a Nick Cage drinking game, and it may be like a Connect 5 or something, or like some sort of a search for things. But one of them is like, if he catches on fire, you have to take a shot. That's all I remember from the game.
Yeah, I think it is several movies he's on fire.
I just thought that that's a frequent enough thing for that to be like, hey, it could happen in this movie. So just be aware you might catch on fire at some point.
I'm down to play a Nick Cage drinking game, and maybe that's some of our Patreon content is record ourselves drunk watching a Nick Cage movie.
Yeah, that sounds. That would have to be a video as well. Anyways,
but I brought that up because I think it's kind of a funny concept of if these fish are just kind of like nomadic, not doing anything. What do they do all day? I think that they've built this wicker wooden frog that they burn at the end of every year, or they plan on burning at some point to try to be like, maybe if we do like an effigy burning of the fake frog, that he'll go away or something. So this was like the in progress building of a wicker wood effigy frog, something. I don't know, man.
That's a great
trying
theory.
to figure something out.
Yeah. And it's falling apart. I mean, they don't have hands. What else are they going to do? They got little feet and mouths. I mean,
yeah. And then it's because it's just, it's not a natural formation because it's like tied together and it's falling apart. So like, why is it there?
I just assumed it was a bird nest. I think I assumed that the birds were building it for some reason, but I think your reasoning makes so much more sense.
Flip side, what if the frog monster himself was making it to look like another frog monster to try to kiss? Yeah, to practice kissing on, potentially.
Maybe so. It definitely
so we got lots of options.
That moment gave me Over the Garden Wall vibes for some reason.
Yeah, it's because of the episode with like the kind of scarecrow pumpkin. Yeah.
Yeah. That's exactly what I was thinking.
Totally picked up on that too.
Yeah. Gosh, what a good show. I can't wait for the fall to be able to watch that again and just be in that vibe, that mood.
Yeah, that whole score of Over the Garden Wall is like perfect to go along with like a cold October, November day.
Dude, it's so good. I'm so excited for all of fall. But summer first, let's
summer
not
first.
Through summer. Yeah.
frog monsters in summer first at this point.
Frog monsters in summer. Dude, I think I found sorry, we're tangenting. I'm sorry, y'all. I do think I'm trying to find seasonal albums. I've got my winter Christmas album, which is the Charlie Brown album. I've got my fall album that I listen to now, which is going to be the Over the Garden Wall soundtrack. And I'm trying to find a summertime one. I think I just found it. Dude, this can be my rec. I guess I recced Japanese music last podcast episode. So this is my last Japanese rock rec. I promise. It's a Mitsuyoshi Takanaka. The album is called The Rainbow Goblins. There is like the story of, it's a children's story, The Rainbow Goblins. And throughout the book, you hear a little bit of narration about the story, or from the story. Meanwhile, he is jamming and it's funky and it's super fun. And it feels very like cinematic in the first song, which has all these orchestral strings and stuff. and it feels very magical. It dives you into the world that is the Rainbow Goblins, and then it ends in the same way. And it is a fantastic album. It's on YouTube. Highly recommend it. Sorry. All right, back to this episode.
Hey, that's our first ever tangent and rec at the same time.
But it went
along with seasonal feels, yes. And this is backtracking.
Seasonal summertime feels.
This feels like Over the Garden Wall, Wicker Man. Now we got the frog in the cave.
There's a connection. There's
connection
for sure.
We just have to trace our if we can't trace our tangents back, then that's where
they don't count.
We start to lose the audience. Yes,
we lose the audience immediately. Well, welcome back to the Adventure Time talk. We're talking about Adventure Time. Yes, that's what we do here.
Only. Well, my deepest thought of this episode, I only had one, and I didn't think I was going to be able to pull out a deep thought. But
lay it on me.
It happens. Mike doesn't put the lay it on me anymore.
There you go.
But he's fighting the frog in the cave. Jake's grown big. Finn's trying to figure out what to do and has the moment of like backtracking with it's like, I'm shy, first base. I can't make out, all that stuff. And he thinks about kissing. I think this is a big moment in the show. Again, even in comparison to the farm, excuse me. And a lot of the ways he's solved fighting big monsters at the end is he takes a step back, looks at the frog. Again, he's like sucking on Jake, which is gross. Season 1 Finn would have just been like, don't suck on my friend, you nasty. And like try to stab him with the sword.
Yeah.
And he sits back and analyzes everything about that he knows about the frog. I think immediately too, then he's like, okay, this could be a whole like, I got to kiss him to save him situation, which is just, I think this is growth in Finn. It's the first time I think he looks at an enemy he's fighting that's almost eating Jake. I think sees the enemy as somebody like fighting evil is not just about punching the bad guy, defeating evil. It's about like helping people. And he's like, I can help this crazy frogman. If maybe I can help him in it, that just means I have to kiss him right now.
Yeah. Ooh,
and then delicately lands on the stalactite.
Oh my gosh, so delicate. I love that. That was almost my tops of the episode, how gracefully he lands on the stalactite and just, dude, what a vibe. But no, I think that's a great thought. This does feel like an improvement in his capability of like assessing a situation and handling it in a more mature way. Not every, it's like every D&D campaign ever, right, is always, oh, we're going to fight, let's fight. But like sometimes the best solutions are sitting there thinking and coming up with like, or talking, like go talk to him, you know? And of course the giant frog or the mega frog probably could not talk, could not speak in this episode, or else he would have been trying to communicate with the mud scamps and stuff. But I think that's a great, little moment for Finn.
Yeah. I mean, I think and again, just solving problems, not just with his fist and not just with his sword, but looking at it and be like, maybe this thing isn't evil. And his mind of looking at things that are doing evil things, hurting his friends, he starts to like look at a lot of situations on like, is this thing really evil, or is it just doesn't know that it's doing something bad? And can I help it? Can I steer it away and make this a good being? We see that, I think, just coming up, especially starting off a forever long season 5. It's going to be lots of moments of Finn growth like this.
Well, doing something bad, he was certainly approaching a kiss in a terrible way.
Yeah,
come on, Mega Frog. What are you doing? Like, you got to know better. Like, way too direct, way too hands-on, way too non-consent. What's happening, Mega Frog?
Yeah.
Well, that's okay.
It's like Beast in the Beauty and the Beast. He's got to make a woman fall in love with him. So his first thought is, let me lock her in the dungeon.
Terrible first thought. Horrible first thought.
Horrible first thought. And somehow it works. I don't know.
Such a Ned locking Russell in his basement move. Oh, see that callback?
Oh, that's the season 1 throwback.
One of this podcast that we definitely did not continue any through line from the first season.
We threw a couple of Easter eggs in there through like season 2, but yeah, the inside joke was Russell was going to be constantly locked in my basement occasionally.
Or there's going to be like a storyline, like a through line throughout this whole podcast, like a separate,
We still have time.
Yeah, and I also was going to do snail sightings. There was a snail sighting this episode. I saw the snail. It was on the giant bird nest or whatever you called it earlier.
Wicker Man.
The Wicker Man frog. So
I saw it. I just man, I've listened to so many other podcasts about Adventure Time, and everybody's like, "Oh, there it is, well, snail," and I was like, "Well, yeah, like enjoy that, but we don't want to sit here and be like, that's not the coolest thing."
That's what I'm doing, Ned. That's what I'm doing now. That's all I'm going to talk about.
No, talk about the deep stuff. Deep stuff? Do you have any lessons that you learned?
Do I have a lesson? We're in lessons right now.
I think that's all I got, man. I don't
dude,
know.
This
much else in this episode.
Go watch this episode. We could talk about the lollipops. What are we going to talk about the lollipops? They tried to keep their trail. They've got too much candy in the Candy Kingdom. That's the issue with the lollipops. They don't want lollipops. Come on.
I guess we had 2 great butt jokes in this episode too. We kind of we miss out on a lot less butt jokes in this season. One was the butt tree. And then 2 was when Finn was running up Jake's back, and then total
parts the Red Sea, the
power launched off Jake's butt cheeks. Then they kind of slide off the edges.
I did like that moment. I did really like that moment. But just the graceful landing on the stalactite won that scene over for me. Yeah, it's so silly. He's kisses the giant frog and then just does a front flip and lands on this thing. It's great. Go watch it. Go watch this episode.
Just go watch it.
Season 4, episode 23. If you haven't looked it up yet, it's the hard easy. It's worth a rewatch if it's been a minute, or if this is one that you skip. I say go check it out. It's worth a rewatch for sure. My lesson, Ned, for you, because I know you're itching to know. I see you there. You're itching to know. Go kiss a toad. I don't know. Could be a hot prince, though. The warts. Maybe not. Maybe don't kiss a toad, but go kiss a toad. Could be a hot prince.
That's your only lesson?
That's my only lesson.
Maybe mine is similar, but it has just maybe one level of depth behind it. If you got somebody bullying you, just kiss them on the mouth, because it'll probably make them stop.
Probably so.
Probably it could get worse, but may make it stop. There's the chance that it makes it stop.
I don't know. I guess that works. Or run. Just run.
I never said this was advice. I said it was a lesson.
No, none of this is advice. Yeah, that's your lesson. So your lesson is to kiss your bully on the mouth.
Yes, kiss my bully right on the mouth.
That's good. I like that one. I'm sure that would work out real well, especially if you were in high school.
Yeah. Maybe freak people out a little bit too much.
Yeah, it'd be a little weird. But I love the movies when sometimes a bully's there and the main character or someone will drop their trousers just to freak out the bully, and the bully's like, whoa, what is this crazy guy doing? I can't handle this. Why did you drop your pants? I don't know why. Is that a trope? I feel like that's a trope. That's something.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of I've seen that in some shows, and what was the one? I think there was a Family Guy one that was outgross the bully. The bully keeps bullying you for being gross, so just outgross him.
Yeah.
Gosh, there's another Fairly Odd Parents one I know that had to be in this realm.
There's got to be another good lesson from this episode, right? Do you have any other lessons?
Actually, that was really my only one.
Okay.
Also, don't be afraid. If you're getting eaten by frogs in the woods, don't be afraid to move to the city, even if you got to practice a little bit.
So, yeah, even if you don't have anything cool, or if you don't do anything cool, it's okay to get a job in the city. I mean, we've all been there. We've all been mud scamps out in the woods somewhere, out in Dagobah. I mean, sometimes you got to move to the city.
Yeah, let's move to the city. The worst case scenario, you move back. You move back to the woods when there's no more monster frog. So take that as you will, but get as metaphorical with that as you will.
Okay, cool. Well, hey man, let's get into a traveler's log, maybe.
Oh, that's fun stuff.
Yeah, we've got one from Austin. I'm pretty sure he's referring to the last episode, or what is it? It's the episode with Lemon Grab, the second Lemon Grab episode.
Yeah, You Made Me. So that's actually 3 episodes ago at this point.
3 episodes ago. Golly. Yeah. All right. Well, anyways, Austin is talking about some clarification about electromedicine. So I'm going to do my best to read through this, but you want to say hello. I was listening to last week's episode, and you mentioned a little bit about, or he wanted to talk a little bit about modern electroconvulsive therapy, or ECT.
Which is being referenced in reference to Lemongrab shocking the pup gang in like his electric room. That's when I read this one the first time, I was like, "What the heck is he talking about?" And I was like, "Oh, we were talking about shock therapy, Lemongrab."
Yeah, we were riffing on it and about it like not really being medicine or just kind of being like a unethical thing, because of course the way that Lemongrab is using it is totally unethical and terrible, but he wanted to go on and mention it's not like it's different. It's not like it was in the 60s and 70s, which I guess it was unethical to some degree in the 60s and 70s. I don't know. Don't quote me on that.
Yeah, you learn what they were. It was in mental hospitals, and people were in mental hospitals because they were either women that distrusted authority, they were gay, or they had like cerebral palsy or something where it's not a mental illness, you know.
Well,
and then they were doing shock therapy on them.
That's terrible. All right. Well, back to this. It says nowadays patients are given an anesthetic and they just need someone to drive them home. It's for depression that can't be treated with medicine. It's actually the number one therapy and changes people's lives for the better. Not that y'all said anything particularly wrong or bad, but just trying to prevent any medical misinformation on any front I hear. Best, Austin, medical student. Now, Austin, medical student is not a DJ name. I appreciate you writing in. But what type of a DJ name is medical student?
Yeah, well, you could have gone with DJ Scrubs.
Oh, okay, you could have gone with DJ Scrubs. I like that. DJ MD, like that. I don't know
exactly. Well, I guess he can't be MD until he graduates.
No, that's true. He's a medical student. Oh man, yeah. DJ Scrubs is great. Gosh, that's so good. Can I be DJ Scrubs? No, I'm Russ.
Dude, I am on my name game this week. I'm telling you.
Yeah, let's not test it though, because I'm sure it's not going to continue.
Well, who knows? He might email us back and say I was totally wrong about the shock therapy in the 40s to 50s or whatever. But
heck yeah, man. Well, yeah,
good traveler's log.
Good traveler's log. Austin, thank you for reaching out. If you want to get on the traveler's log, if you want to be like having your thoughts and feelings
part of our adventure,
read on the podcast, freaking reach out to us at the nea.travelerslog@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from you. I often reply back to them, if not always. There's one or two that were really long recently that I just, I'm intimidated by it. I just got anxiety, I guess. I don't know. I haven't read it yet. So, but I'll get there. It's just so dang long. Come on. What, Ned? I can't hear you. I think you muted yourself.
Oh, yes, I did. I just was like, it doesn't sound like they're writing a log. They're writing like an essay.
Yeah, for sure.
Portion.
Well, regardless, Ned, I do have a rec, though I've already used my rec, but I got another rec for you.
You didn't even let me get my rec, honestly.
I don't care.
Did I get one splash in there?
No, you got no recs, bud. I got recs. Man, Bussies. Buc-ee's. Dude, not a sponsor. Go the Buc-ee's, bro. Like, I went for the first time on a bachelor weekend trip. And the second time. The first time I didn't buy anything because I was way too intimidated. There were hundreds and hundreds of people. This is like a Sunday thing that people do, I guess, or like a random Thursday. Just everybody's like, gotta go to the Buc-ee's. So I didn't buy anything the first time.
If you don't know, Buc-ee's is like a massive, huge gas station. There's like 150 pumps. There's a new one in Georgia now going between Atlanta to Nashville, which is again why it's a big deal now. There's one in Texas. There's one in Florida.
Yeah, I went to the one in South Carolina.
It's like, the mecca of like trailer trash. Six Flags meets gas station meets theme park. Everything's beaver themed. They have a mascot. They have homemade beef jerky. They have like delicious brisket, and then like a whole souvenir.
Crazy.
It's weird. But go to Buc-ee's is a great recommendation.
So I bought the beaver nuggets, I think, or something like that. Beaver nugs.
Yeah.
And they're just like, sugary, corn, flaky cereal sort of a
Jackie,
thing.
Or we were going to a wedding in Tennessee not too long ago, and our friend Connor got some, and we realized they're oversized. Remember that cereal Corn Pops? Yeah. It's like oversized Corn Pops.
It is. It really is. But they're kind of buttery and maple syrupy. I mean, they're kind of good. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I've had one or two. I'm just not a sweets guy typically, but I go and get barbecue sandwiches and the kettle chips, the homemade kettle chips.
Nice. Well, what's your
prime time? My recommendation is probably already been talked about, known, whatever, but it's the new Spider-Man movie. Fantastic.
Oh, man,
like,
really?
Absolutely. Oh, and I started getting on tangent TikToks about how, like, they animated it, that half the characters were at 1 frame, half the characters were at 2 frames, and then one character was at 3 frames for, like, animation. And so the animation just, like, they are making a new genre of movies.
Wow.
Of how, like, movies are being animated, which is just crazy. So,
dude, I'm pretty sure Childish Gambino makes Donald Glover
yes,
makes
he does. Donald Glover makes an appearance as
Well, I don't want to know. I don't want to know what as. I'm gonna go check it out.
Well, that's already kind of been, if you've been following anything Spider-Man related, you already know he was supposed to be, and this confirms it in this movie that he's, so
that's cool. That's cool.
I'll let you run with that.
I would have loved him, especially in his Community days, like back then, being Spider-Man. That would have been so freaking cool.
Yeah, but regardless, let's close it out, baby. Let's close this sucker down.
We'll keep it sweet, short and sweet this episode. The next episode, we'll be talking about Fortress Wizard. So, or whatever. Is that what? Did I just do it again?
You just called her Fortress Princess, and it's Huntress Wizard. You'll get it down. You'll get it one day. When she's your lovely and sexy character.
She was my sexy character the first time we saw her. Oh, gosh. What is today? I don't know, man.
It's doing a podcast. Are you going to party forever now?
No, not yet. I'm going to say, check us out on Instagram at Never Ending Adventure Podcast, TikTok at Never Ending Adventure Cast, Twitter at NEA_podcast. I already told you about the Traveler's Log. Check it out. Come on, y'all. Get on YouTube. Go follow us on YouTube and subscribe. It's going to help us. We're already at 800 people subscribed there, which is really cool. And I think crazy. At 1,000, maybe we can possibly monetize in some way. I don't know. Cool. I'm thinking about looking into it, but we'll see.
I like money,
some short form videos. Hey, money would be cool. But until we get a sponsor, I don't know. Regardless, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us for another awesome episode of Adventure Time. I'm enjoying this a lot. The 4th season's been pretty good. I can only imagine it's going to get better. And stick around. Join us next week. Party forever.
Love that you gave.